AOR teams up with attorney Mark O'Mara to defend a client in Florida. We got the story coming your way. Stay tuned. This is attorney Andy Marcantel, attorney Mark J. Victor, and attorney Emma Whitman, all appearing here from the Attorneys for Freedom studio with another great story from a client that we had the privilege to represent. How y'all doing today?
Dude, these are the best kind of videos.
Yeah, I'm doing good and excited to be here with Sam.
I guess we should start by introducing the folks that we have here appearing via Zoom. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, it's Mark O'Mara from Orlando. Right now, I'm at the National Trial Lawyers over in Miami, Florida, but great to see you guys again.
And next we have Sam. And Sam, you're the client. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, Mark. How y'all guys doing? I'm Sam, for anybody who don't know. Live in Florida.
Now, we take attorney-client privilege really, really seriously at this law firm. And the vast majority of our cases we cannot talk about because our clients haven't signed the media release form. They haven't signed a waiver that specifically says you guys can talk about my case. This is one where Sam has signed the media release waiver and authorized us to tell aspects of his story. However, a client also gets to set the parameters of that waiver of confidentiality. If there's certain things that we don't want getting out there, or a client doesn't feel comfortable fully telling or wants to only tell part of it, that's what we are bound to. And so we're going to be respecting that and not getting too deeply into all the facts of the case.
All right, well, let's get started. I mean, how do you want to get started on this, Andy?
Well, Sam, you've been an AOR client for some time now, and like all of our other clients, you hope you never need to make that late night phone call. Because an emergency happens. But in your case, unfortunately, you did have to make that call. And I remember the initial call after the incident came in the wee hours of the morning, and I believe it was New Year's Eve. Was that right, Mark?
Yeah, it was really, really early in the day on New Year's Eve day, and the strike force call came in. I was the one who grabbed it because I love doing strike force as much as anyone else. You just never know what's going to happen when you pick that up. And it was actually Sam's aunt, Jarita, was on the phone, and she was very concerned, obviously. She let me know that her nephew, Sam, was an AOR client. She was just passing the message, so Sam must have spoken to her and said, hey, I'm an AOR client, and I got arrested, and I'm in jail. Can you call these guys? And that's really all she knew. And she didn't have a lot of facts, but she was very freaked out at the time, as, you know, most people are when a family member gets arrested. And I had the pleasure of talking to her and letting her know we're going to handle this, that he was an AOR member. The rest of the strike force got on. It didn't take very long before I knew he was a member. We had information about this. And it was Andrea, actually, from our office, who was on the paralegal team for the strike force that day. And she was immediately finding out where our client Sam was at the jail, getting ready to set up a jail call. It wasn't very much longer before I found myself on the phone talking to Sam. I think at the time, and you can speak for yourself here, Sam, but I think Sam wasn't sure if we were going to come through for him at the time. I think he was kind of surprised he was on the phone with me because, you know, this is New Year's Eve day. Everybody's closed. You couldn't get a hold of anybody. Sam, what was your impression of that phone call?
Well, when I got arrested, I was scared, to be honest with you. Because it was the first time I got arrested, and then when I called my aunt, once I got to jail, talked to her, and she told me that she was going to call you guys. And then she told me to call her after like 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I called her back, and then she told me that she talked to you. I was surprised that she talked to you because, like, I was thinking that she was going to talk to just any random person. When she told me, hey, I talked to this guy named Mark, and he told me to give you this number. So I ended up calling you again, and then we talked. And, I mean, like, after she told me she talked to you, that was a big relief from there because she was like, I talked to Mark, and Mark said he got you from there. You don't need to worry about it. That was a big relief from there.
Yeah, these calls are always kind of exciting on our end because we are trying to figure out exactly what's going on. You know, your aunt was not present for the incident for which you were arrested, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but she wasn't there. And so when we were asking her, what details can you provide us with, she didn't know. She just knew that you were arrested on a serious felony and that you were taken to the jail. So we have this strike force that's standing by 24/7, 365. We have different teams that are on duty on strike force on duty at any given time. I'm so proud of our strike force at this law firm. This is a huge benefit of being a part of our program, is that you're actually getting a lawyer on the other end of the line in case of an emergency. And I know you were just on the strike force, Emma, and you took a number of crazy calls. Do you want to talk about the strike force a little bit?
Yeah, it's an honor to be on the strike force, just like you were saying. Every attorney is on the strike force. That's a part of our firm. We also have a great team of paralegals that are on the strike force, and we all have our individual teams. Every week we're on a rotation. So when our clients call in, they're immediately getting connected to one of the attorneys speaking to us directly. And we are just standing by 24/7, 365, ready to take that call. We never know when the call is going to come in. We don't know what the call is going to be for, but we're ready to help our clients when they do make that call.
Yeah, this one in particular was really fun because I get to be the one on the phone. And you know how it is. I'm on the phone and I'm talking to him, and I feel like I got this army of people behind me sending me information. And Andrea was awesome. Middle of the night, she's up, she's calling the jail, she's getting everything done. Really, really, it was a team effort here because, it's not easy arranging a call from the jail. And it wasn't long after I spoke with Sam's aunt that I was on the phone with Sam. You can't have a real detailed conversation, but it was nice to be able to assure him that he's an AOR client. I got the message. We got his back. We're on the case.
And as always, it's so important for the other human being on the line to be an attorney, not just a club or an insurance adjuster or something like that, an attorney, because everything is attorney-client privileged at that point. It's not discoverable. It can't be used against you later, and you can talk freely to an attorney and tell them what's going on.
Not just any attorney, an attorney who's going to be on the case to the end. So yeah, cheers to our strike force. It was really fun. This one had a really happy ending, and it was nice that he was able and willing to come on here and just say a few words about what happened. Because so many cases, you just can't say anything, and understandably so.
And like you said, Mark, it was Andrea on at the time, and Andrea really sprung into action after you picked up the call. We gave the directive to the paralegals on the team, and they immediately found the jail where Sam was being taken, and we facilitated that phone call.
Yeah, I was super happy to find out that Sam had not selected a local attorney. People think sometimes they got to figure out who they want to select as a local attorney. I always like it better when they let us select, because when they let us select, I can say to myself, who's the best lawyer we got right down in that area? And immediately I thought Mark O'Mara. He's a big name. He's done gun cases. He's a guy I've always wanted to work with. I've been in this business over 30 years. Mark's been in a long time, and I've not had an opportunity to talk to Mark O'Mara. So bam, I talked to Andre and I said, hey, reach out, see if you can get Mark O'Mara interested in this case. Get us on the phone. And it wasn't long after that. Maybe Mark can speak for himself in terms of what happened from his end.
No, it's very interesting. It was great to work with you guys in this case, but also great to hear that you're out there doing the type of work that you're doing, which is really intriguing to me. And yes, it was great to get the first information. Of course, a case like this, no matter what, there's some he said, she said to it all. And, you look into prior criminal record, he doesn't have any. You look at the facts of the case, and we'll get into it maybe a little bit. But no, the first call, it was just great to talk to you guys. And of course, do this for a living. It's a real passion. So great to help Sam out.
Yeah, and people will remember that Mark successfully represented George Zimmerman in that very high-profile George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin case. I was rooting for you on that one. I felt that you were on the right side. Your client, Mr. Zimmerman, probably should not have been charged. A lot of people were upset about what happened and said, well, he should have just called and left it at that. And he didn't have to do that. And I remember speaking publicly about that case, even though I wasn't involved in the case, sort of defending you in what your client had done in that case. And I thought you did a fantastic job on that trial. And so it was a real honor and pleasure for me to bring my team and team up with you on this case.
Yeah, great to work with you guys.
Mark, I remember that first strategy meeting that we had with you, and it was a phone call. It was me and the two Marks here. And what we were going through is all of the next steps that were coming up in that court system in Florida. And you were bringing us up to speed on the local procedure and the local judges and the local prosecutors and what the next steps are. See, this is a huge advantage to the Attorneys on Retainer program, is that we reach out to the best lawyer that we can find in that area, who has substantial ties to that area, who's been practicing law a long time in that area. And I remember that was really, really helpful for us to all synergize and get your input and come up with a strategy here.
Oh yeah, same thing what I do because I try cases in other jurisdictions. But one, you don't want to get hometown, so you need to know the rules, and like you say, the judges, the prosecutors, and just those nuances of how to handle a case. And it was great, like you say, sort of strategizing, figure out one, how to get Sam safe, out, away, secure, while we're trying to find out more about the case itself.
You know, one of the things I tell people all the time is, look, let me pick the lawyer because we can tell in 5 minutes if we're talking to what I like to call a real criminal defense lawyer. And I can tell you, Andy and I got off that call and we said, you know what, this guy's good. He thinks like us. He's a real criminal defense lawyer. He's thinking outside the box. He's thinking creatively. He's answering our questions. And we don't expect you to know everything off the top of your head. Nobody does. But I felt like I was talking to a brother criminal defense attorney from that very first conversation. I felt like we picked the right guy, and I'm really excited about this case. And Andy and I talked about that. You know, sometimes we get on with the different local counsel and we kind of look at each other and we're like,
let's try again.
Yeah, let's try again. But we didn't feel that way. So we were super excited about the case. And maybe, Andy, you say a word about really what we found out in terms of what Sam was facing.
Yeah, and just real quick, I think we should say a couple of words about that just for AOR clients to be educated on how the program works. All of our AOR clients get their emergency contact form. Now, you fill out that information, and that'll tell us if an emergency like this happens, we know who to call. We know who you've authorized us to share information with. We know, basic information that we can help to make an argument to get you out of custody if, like Sam, you were taken into custody. But another really important thing on that form is there's a space there that if you have a local attorney that you like, there's a criminal defense attorney in your town or area that you like, you can write that person's information there, and that's your choice for local attorney, and we can call up that attorney and we'll do everything we can to get them to be our local pro hoc vice counsel on that case. Now, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes attorneys are in the middle of trial. Sometimes they're on paternity leave. Sometimes they're injured. Sometimes they're retired, maybe. We've had people put down old attorneys who retire. And sometimes clients just opt to leave it blank. A lot of people don't know a good attorney in my area or even how to assess that. And actually, as Mark just pointed out, that's our preference because we like to do the research and pick the best lawyer for each individual case.
Yeah, we should also say here that many of our clients very understandably don't want to do this kind of an interview, right? People don't like to talk about these things, and there's a reason we're not giving out Sam's last name. There's a reason we're not running through all of the details of the case because Sam has agreed and understandably said, look, let's just cover the basics here. I don't need to lay all this stuff out in front of everybody, and I think that's very fair and reasonable. I also want to say I'm very grateful that Sam is even willing to do this so we can even talk about it because, we're a law firm, we're lawyers first, and many, many times, most times, the vast majority of times, we don't get to say anything to anybody about what we did or even if we represented anybody. Mark knows sometimes it's frustrating because you can't even say you represented the person, let alone, hey, look at the great job we did on the case. You just can't tell anybody so they don't know. And this is an exception. And so, Sam, we're very happy that you let us say anything about it. Andy, do you want to give just a little overview?
Yeah, and Sam, I remember when the team first got to have a strategy meeting with you. You're now out of custody. You're safe. You're at home. You've, eating a hot meal and taking a shower and got a good night's rest. You've cleared your head from the trauma of being taken into custody. And now you're in the right mindset to meet with your attorneys and have that strategy meeting. And I remember we sat down with you and we talked about the facts. And we talked about the next steps in the process. We got some excellent guidance from Mark O'Mara, who gave us here's the next steps in this jurisdiction of what is going to take place at the upcoming hearings. And then we started receiving discovery from the prosecutor in the case. And the discovery that we initially received, Emma, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts of the case is getting the discovery, going through it super carefully, figuring out what the strengths of the case are, the weaknesses, and of course, is there anything missing? What do we need to follow up on? And turns out there was a piece of evidence from the state that, as we suspected, was missing. And this was an important piece for us because we were able to really press the prosecutor on it. And to this day, it never turned up.
I'm sure you remember that, Sam. That was a big deal to you, and it stuck out like a sore thumb. There seems to be something missing from this discovery.
Yes, sir. The written statement. I remember that.
At that point as well, we started working on mitigation. And for people who don't know, mitigation is just good guy stuff about Sam. We want to humanize Sam to the prosecutor and let them know they're not dealing with a troublemaker here. And then we started exploring different legal issues in the case. And there were a number of very interesting ones in this case. For example, we investigated and we found some evidence in the case that the police didn't find, and it turned out to be very, very instrumental in negotiations with the prosecutor.
Yeah, there was an important witness here. What that person was going to say was going to be very important in this case. And we had an opportunity to do something a little bit outside the box, which required us to actually hire another local counsel in a slightly different area of the state to go in on a different type of hearing and lock in this very important witness to some very important statements that we could then use on the criminal side. And Andy, I think you spoke with this other local counsel and made it very clear exactly what we needed in this situation.
Yeah, it was an interesting situation, actually, because it was a civil hearing that the alleged victim in this case was going to be testifying in. And so we actually hired the civil attorney as opposing counsel and prepped her up with exactly what statements we wanted to get her locked into on the record. And we were able to successfully lock her into some statements, which we were able to use to help Sam in negotiations.
Yeah, and we gave that whole mess over to Emma and said, hey, Emma, put this thing together, work your wizardry on this thing. And she put together this, what I'd call a treatise. What was it, like an 8-page? Well, why don't you talk about what you put together?
Yeah, before we get into that, there was another witness that the state didn't interview that we had an opportunity to get a statement from that was instrumental to this case and the letter that you're referring to. For all intents and purposes, it was essentially a plea proposal or a formal letter to the prosecutor, about 8 pages, so pretty lengthy, laying out all the things we just talked about, that piece of evidence that came in that we found later on that the state hadn't captured. Obviously pressing the state on the piece of evidence that we assumed was missing from our review and believe we were correct on. And then the statements that we were able to obtain from that other hearing. And we compile all of that and point out to the state, here's our defenses, here's the weaknesses in your case, and here's why if we set this for trial, hey, prosecutor, you're going to lose. And we put all that together along with the mitigation, presenting who our client is, the lack of priors, and we make a pitch to the prosecutor about how this case should be resolved. And it ended up in a phenomenal outcome for Sam.
Yeah, I think, and Mark O'Mara, I'm sure you can speak to this with all of your experience, but if there's one thing that this case really teaches is that the cops don't interview everybody and the cops don't collect all the relevant evidence oftentimes. Would you agree?
I think that most cops are good cops, but they can be sloppy, lazy, or just miss a few things. And I think this case is sort of the poster child for what they didn't do right, but more importantly, what we were able to find out that they didn't do right, the statements they didn't get, some of the evidence that had to be somewhere because they referenced it in one report, yet we couldn't get it, even though Florida is a very open discovery state. Of course, we all know what that means. You have a sheet of paper about this case, we get it, and we get it quickly. They didn't give us that, and I think we're able to sort of parlay that into, as Emma said, a really good result for Sam. And, what was a very difficult and scary case for what was alleged.
Yeah, can you talk about that, Mark? Can you let the viewers know the severity of the charges, what charges he was looking at, and what he would have faced in prison time if he was convicted?
Well, that's the problem with the way they have him charged is domestic violence event and some of the allegations that the complaining witness was making. And I know we're going to go sort of evidence light here because the way we resolved it for Sam, there's still a couple of things pending. But no, he was definitely facing state prison were this not to go his way or our way. And again, it's always that delicate balance because we look at the case and go, there's enough weaknesses here that a jury should not believe that the state has proven their case, should just say that, they did not prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt or benchmark and let Sam go home that day. But, the fear is when you're dealing with domestic violence, and that was some of the allegations here, people sometimes look at it through a very jaundiced eye. And had that happened here, it could have been much, much worse for Sam.
Yeah, we always have these problems in these kinds of cases. When you're looking at a major felony, and it involves a firearm, you're looking at mandatory prison. And anytime you're looking at mandatory prison, understandably, the clients are going to want to say, am I going to win? Is there a chance I'm going to prison here? And, you got to be honest with the clients because we all want to try the case, right? We're looking at this case and we're talking to you, Mark, about it. We say, man, this would be a fun one to try. This would be a really blast. We're talking amongst ourselves like, can all three of us go down there and try this case because we love trying cases? And we felt pretty confident we were going to get a good result here. But there's always that chance you get a crazy jury. You never know what juries are going to do. And it always puts the client in a very hard, very difficult situation. I know there was a time when Sam was like, you know what? I feel like I was good here and I want to go to trial. I feel like I got a good team behind me. I know how he was thinking about that. And he was kind of like, let's go to trial. And we were all trying to say, look, man, we got your resolution here that's going to end with nothing on your record. And it's hard to turn that down when you're looking at many years in prison on a felony gun charge, even though you got a strong team behind you who really wants to try the case. We got to say what's in the best interest of the client. And it can be a very, very hard decision. I know, Mark, you've been in this situation countless times too.
Yeah, it's very difficult because not only would he have the potential, the probability of prison time or almost a certainty of prison time had he been convicted, but he's also a convicted felon for the rest of your life because they do not go away in Florida. If you're convicted of a felony, it stays with you for the rest of your life. So you're balancing, that cost-benefit analysis. We as the lawyers look at it and go, well, got a good chance here. We got this. We've got credibility issues on the witnesses, blah, blah, blah. And you're looking at it from the strategy of going to and winning a trial. The harsh reality is the client, and I say this, and I'm sure you guys have as well, no matter what happens in the trial, I never fail to go home when the trial is over. But unfortunately, sometimes the clients don't. And there was that chance here.
We probably had the same experience many times, right? You win some at trial where you say, there's no way we're going to win this. And you crazy jury, you won. And I've had that egg on my face. You probably had that where you said to the client, look, we shouldn't go to trial. And they said, no, I'm going anyway. And you win. And okay, that's good scrambled egg to have on your face. But you've also had the reverse where you felt like, oh man, I just killed this thing. And a jury comes back and they convict your guy and you're like, what? And so it makes you, if you've been doing this a long time, it makes you wonder, the juries, they can do anything. You can't really predict what a jury is going to do. So you get very careful when you're playing with years of another person's life here. And, personally, professionally, we want to go try the case because we feel like we can win it. But we got to always put Sam's interest first. And it makes for a hard conversation with the client.
Very difficult because so easy it could have been to say, look, take the chance. And sometimes we do that. But the harsh reality is it is that sort of cost-benefit analysis of saying, look, it could happen, and it should happen this way. Like, we could easily have tried this case and won, and they came back and said simply the only standard, which is, sorry, state, you didn't prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. Better luck next time for you. But again, with the domestic violence situation, with some of what they might have believed, the better the state's case, the worse their offer. Mm-hmm. In a case like this, we got an offer that it was very difficult to pass up on, for Sam to pass up on it because of the potentials.
And really, I think this happened. It was really because of the team, but I thought Emma did a phenomenal job on what she wrote. What was your response when we said, because you didn't know us very well, to be fair, and all of a sudden we sent this 8-page package down to you and you opened up and read it. What were your thoughts?
Oh, I loved it. No. I thought it was great because I didn't know you guys either. So it was really good to see the type of quality work. And Emma, it was phenomenal because it outlined everything that was supposed to, the way you're supposed to do it. You can't just stick it in a prosecutor's face, right? But you have to tell them the weaknesses. You have to tell them some alternatives. You have to tell them who Sam is. And I thought it was very well done. And quite honestly, set the foundation for the eventual settlement and result.
Yeah, and of course, that's why we got Emma on the team. She's awesome. But in response to that letter that we sent over to the prosecutor, I guess to their credit, they came back and they conceded, the case doesn't look as strong for us anymore, given the evidence that you guys are presenting and given the witness statements that you found and locked in and everything like that. And they came back and they made us an offer. And the offer is kind of an interesting facet of Florida law that I think it worth hearing Mark talk about here, because we have the equivalent of this in Arizona. We've used the equivalent in other jurisdictions throughout the United States. Some call it a diversion deal, deferred prosecution, a suspended sentence. Ultimately, it's a deal that you take, and it doesn't end up with a conviction on your record as long as the judge decides that you've complied with everything. You want to talk about that, Mark?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It is, we call them deferred prosecutions. And basically what it is it's a deal that the state offers. And again, when they have a case that's questionable for them as well, but we still have to look at it as questionable for Sam, then we enter into this contract, an agreement that says, okay, we'll do these few things. Sometimes it's community service hours. Sometimes it's a drug and alcohol evaluation, whatever it might be in other cases. In this case, I thought we got it down to what it was almost impossible to pass up, because one, the case goes away. There are no charges pending as long as Sam does a few things he has to do, and then it goes away completely. And again, my fear is that felony conviction, because had the jury come back and said guilty, the judge adjudicates them, that never goes away. And then you got the prison specter out there as well. So no, I was very happy we got them pushed down to something that was so acceptable and also just so little pain to it.
And Sam, this was a tough decision for you, I remember, because you were fired up about going to trial. You're like, hell yeah, guys, you know what? I understand I'm looking at prison. I understand that you have a deal on the table that can, end up with me having nothing on my record so long as I comply and the judge finds I complied and everything like that. But I'm willing to take the risk. That was your mindset at one point before you ultimately took the deal. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So at first, my mindset was to, take it to trial because like at the end of the day, I wanted to clear everything. I want to clear my name. And I also feel like I had a good team, and with all the evidence, I feel like we would have won. When I was talking to Mark explained everything to me, and you explained everything to me a couple of times. I mean, I was a little hard-headed sometimes, but I talked to my mom about it, and she talked to me about it a couple of times too. And, at the end, we decided to take that. But at first I wanted to go to trial, just, have the experience being in the courtroom with y'all. That's one thing I was looking forward to be honest with you.
Well, just so you know, we were looking forward to more than you might have been, because I wanted to try this case. But again, when a deal is that good, like we talked about, Sam, a dozen times, it was a tough call. Again, if the case had been stronger for them, we would not got this good an offer.
That's right.
If they had said you got to go to prison or you got to go to jail for even 6 months, I think we would have tried the case. But wow, when they gave us the offer they gave us, it was just tough to pass.
Yeah, I understand Sam's position. I mean, he's feeling like, and I got a pretty good case. I got a strong team. I read what Emma wrote. Emma put it pretty strongly. It looks like we're in good shape here. How are we going to lose this thing? And then you got the lawyers kind of talking to you saying, look, man, you could still lose. You never know, because we got to be, the last thing you want is to go through a trial, have a client get convicted, say, look, I didn't realize that this could happen. So you got to really lay it all out, which is hard because, you're kind of wearing two hats. On one hat, sort of professionally, you really want to try this case because it'd be fun to go down there to Florida to work with Mark and to bring the team down and just because we love standing in front of juries. I know Mark does too, but you got to put the client first in every single case, and that's what good lawyers do.
And as with all criminal cases and all criminal defendants, there's a ton of other considerations wholly outside of the legal system that go into this decision. Sam is a family man. Part of the mitigation in this case was laying out the type of person that Sam is. Sam's a family man. He's a father of two. He's an excellent father. And so, he's thinking about those kids and being there for the family and everything too. So there are so many factors that go into these decisions. We understand it was a tough choice, but ultimately you decided to accept this deal. And I actually got the pleasure of meeting you in person. I was out in Florida and came to the hearing, and it was wonderful to meet with you, and we got the case resolved there. And so at this point now you are fulfilling the duties of the agreement that you agreed to, and the ultimate result, as long as those are fulfilled, is there's a very probable chance that you're not going to end up with anything on your record. You'll maintain your Second Amendment rights, and nothing will go on your record that will show up in a background check.
Yes, sir.
It's a good result. Sam, anything else you want to say before we wrap it?
Well, just thank you to everybody in the room. Thank you to Emma. I know I called her a couple of times, in Indy, I know me and you, we had a couple talk where I wasn't really listening. I was just stuck in a zone, and I know for a fact that a couple times I had to call you and keep repeating the same question, keep asking the same question. Just thank you to you, thank you to everybody. I don't remember the other ladies now. I think it's Annie, Andreas.
Oh,
Andrea.
Andrea.
Yes, Miss Andreas. I call her a million times. I know my mom called her a million times too. She was always nice and we're ready to answer the question. You know, she was here to help at every step of the way. Just thank you to you guys, and I'm glad that I joined the program, because if not, I probably would still be in jail, or I probably would be in prison. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm glad that I joined y'all guys, and I'm part of the team.
It's been an honor to represent you.
Sam, it was a pleasure to represent you. I know I speak for everybody when I say that. And Mark, it was a pleasure working with you, man.
The same.
I remember at the end
Absolutely.
of the case, I told you I can't wait for the next one.
Ready for the next one as well. Absolutely. Yeah. And Sam, it was an honor to represent you, really. And look, if we could have gotten that deal kept on the table and still tried the case, we would have. But
Yes, sir.
that's the problem. That's the problem with compromise. You just gotta give a little bit. I don't think you gave up very much. I think they gave up a whole heck of a lot more. But I am real happy with the result. Completely convinced it was the right result, because, like we said, that cost benefit, even if it was a 10%, 20% chance of you getting convicted, it would have devastated you had it happened that way. So great representing you. Our honor to do so. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. We will.
Mark, will you plug your website so people can find you easily?
Absolutely. OmaraLawGroup.com, actually brand new website. So take a look at it. We did it about a month ago. Always easy to get a hold of me. The office number 407-898-5151. Always there to help out in criminal defense throughout the whole Southeast. Family law as well. Nobody ever wants to call me for either of those two, but I'm here to help if I can. And again, an honor working with you guys.
It's been our honor to thank you, everybody, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Go and check out attorneysonretainer.us to learn all about our self-defense program and what it can do for you. Go and check out attorneysforfreedom.com to learn all about our law firm and how we represent people in the justice system. Until next time, this has been attorneys Andy Marcantel, Mark J. Victor, Emma Whitman, our new friend Mark O'Mara, who we can't wait to work with again, and of course our awesome client Sam, signing out. Peace.